So Armando, congratulations on the play. Do you remember the first time you experienced Doctor Strangelove?
I think I was a student, and I didn't see it on the big screen the first time. I saw it in someone's room
Hmm.
on video, and despite that, as it was progressing, I just thought, "This is great. This is," and I remember it being very funny, but in a kind of unsettling way.
Yeah.
And going back and looking at it again, it is a farce. It's structured like a farce, but a very slow-moving farce. So it's one thing, this mad American general who has told, the fleet of American bombers to go in and start bombing Russia, and has lied and said, implying that the White House has been struck and the president's gone. And as a result of that, and the kind of the code red R for Roger that they release. It's an intricately written policy that means it's absolutely impossible to get through to the planes to tell them to turn back. The thing just careers out of control, but at a very, it's across 2 hours. But fundamentally, when you analyze it, when you write the story down, it's a classic farce.
And is that when you collaborating with Sean Foley?
Yeah.
The two of you realized this is a fantastic farce.
Yeah.
Be an equally fantastic man who can work in farce.
To do it, yes,
Yeah.
and someone who, like Peter Sellers in the film,
Yeah.
plays several parts,
Yeah.
all very different, and unbelievably, yeah.
And was Steve your first call?
Yeah, because and also, I think when Steve sort of first came on the scene, people were comparing him to like a young Peter Sellers in terms of the fact that he did characters. He didn't do stand-up, he did characters and got really into them, and the detail that he put in them. And also he had a great comic brain in terms of the writing. And so there was always that comparison. And again, he's a huge fan of the film as well. So it felt like easiest decision to make, really, to say yes.
And there's another character he plays in this, Major T.J. Kong.
Yeah.
Is that more you guys pulling from the book, or did you just think throw another character in, let's see what Steve can do?
No, it's based on the fact that actually in the original, Peter Sellers was asked to play Kong and said he just couldn't. Now, whether it was because of Kong's accent, he's a sort of deep Southern Texan. He just felt he couldn't, and so it was Steve who said, "Can I have a go at that?" And that then meant, okay, he's playing 4 different people in this play. He doesn't have the safety net of a break in the filming when he can go back to his trailer and get fresh makeup and costume on. It's all happening live. So sewn into the whole evening, as it were, is this high risk, very intricately timed set of maneuvers he has to do when one scene finishes, getting changed into the next character, but within 30 seconds. Yeah. And there's no trickery involved in that. It's all real. There's no holograms and mirrors and stuff. It's all him. But that's a fair bit of his evening. So he's kind of like, once the show starts, he's more or less on stage for 2 hours.
And the film isn't just a Peter Sellers.
Yeah.
And it's not just, and the play isn't just Steve.
Yeah.
There's an ensemble, a fantastic
Yes.
ensemble in both.
Yeah.
And one of my particular favorites was Hodgkinson. What's it like for Giles coming to that character who has a lot of very quotable lines and it's quite an intense presence?
Yeah, and it was George C. Scott, I think, in the film,
Yes.
who played, and he was very hefty. And the key to it was playing it absolutely straight, because he's the voice in the Pentagon who's trying to sound knowledgeable, but actually behind his eyes he's thinking, "Let's go for it, let's get them," But he has to kind of temper it. And Giles is great, and Giles has got a great stage presence, and he's had all that, Royal Shakespeare Company and Hamilton, and he's one of these people who occupies the stage as soon as he comes on, and he plays it right from the first day of rehearsals. I remember thinking he's absolutely nailed it. There isn't a hint of doubt or, trying to raise his eyebrows to get a joke. He's playing it absolutely straight, and it's a fantastic performance for a fantastic part.
You're a writer who mostly creates.
Yeah.
You've done one or two adaptations. I would say kind of The Death of Stalin is a kind of adaptation.
It is, and David Copperfield I did as an adaptation. Yeah.
What's it like adapting a film like this to a play?
Well, it lent itself to theatre anyway, in that, as I say, it's a farce, but also, unlike the other Kubrick movies, it's set within just three specific locations, and it just darts between those three. So already you've got that sense of these are the three sets that we'll be working with, including a B-52 bomber, which we put on stage. There's that. And I think with anything... and you're right, I always had myself down as someone who originates his own material, and I hadn't, banked on the idea of 2 of my 3 films would be adaptations of something else. And what you do is you always remember what it was about the original that made you excited and enthusiastic and which you admire, but you then can't treat it like a kind of precious vase that you can't move. And, you have to just get on with it and do what you think will make it work on stage. If that means cutting that or moving that or changing this bit or whatever. But it's all for the benefit of the final piece. It's to make the stage version work. People coming in must get a sense of satisfaction from what they watch. And everything has to go towards that. So it's about not being precious about it and just having the confidence to make it work for the medium. And then hopefully in doing that you end up hopefully preserving the elements of it that got you excited in the first place.
And what's it been like, bringing it to the West and 6 years after the film premiere?
Yes.
And now here to Boycott.
Well, you say 60 years and yet strangely contemporary. Here we are with Putin and now Trump and missiles targeted here and there.
Great thing to be banking on.
And a mad general talking about fluoride in the water, and even a scientist in the government working on technology. So who'd have thought? Yeah. I know. So I think it's that even though it's 60 years on, you write it with. We haven't updated it, and it's still set in the 60s. But you have to write it for your audience and not one that saw the original. So there is, there are references to the spirit of today, and there's talk about algorithms and presidents disputing election results and various things like that. In the film, the Russian president, you never see, he's on the other end of the phone. He's portrayed as a kind of crazy alcoholic, and we thought that's not the president that you never see, but you get a sense of at the end of the phone. And this one is more of a kind of rather cold killer who you don't want to get on the wrong side of. Yeah.
And, as you spoke on there on the contemporary nature of it, how did it feel as the play was coming together and everything was happening around you and around the production? How did you guys feel about that?
Oh, well, for me, because I'm new to all this, actually. I'm new to the working on theatre. It's very exciting. I find it very exciting. I find it, the first day of rehearsals, everyone turning up, sitting down and just reading it out. And you get a sense of, I think then and there if it's going to work. There'll be elements of it where you think, that's now too long. We don't need that. We need to change that. We need to hurry up there. But fundamentally, you get a sense of, this is going to work. And then there's the hard bit, because you're then working through it slowly, line by line, and the moves and stuff. So I find that there's not much I can do there. So I find that probably best if I go away while Sean gets on with it. And then what's then satisfying coming at the end of that process in the final week of rehearsal and seeing it up on its feet, or beginning to get up on its feet. It's very, it's exciting and then nerve-wracking when you put it in front of an audience,
And, finally, the last question, What do you hope, and this is actually a very prevalent question, I suppose, these days, what do you hope audiences take away from their experience, learn, maybe?
Well, I mean, I hope they come away entertained, happy. Certainly our London audiences have been saying that, so that's good. If it makes them analyse a bit more what's going on, if it makes them identify the absurdity of a lot of what's being said on their behalf, then that's good. I don't think it's going to save the world, this play, but it might at least encourage us to try and do something.
Well, listen, Armando, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.